Welcome to the first episode of our Circle2 tutorial series. Today we're going to be creating a classic 80s style brass sound to introduce you to the basic operation of Circle2. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and initialize the preset, which we do by clicking on this new button here. What this does is creates a new sound with some basic settings applied. We then want to select the oscillators we want for the sound, so we go into slot number 1 and select analog oscillator and set this to be a square wave, and then we do exactly the same in slot number 2. And then going over to the mixer, we want to ensure that these oscillators are at the same level, so we're going to push this control up, and that will give us something like this. So it definitely doesn't sound brassy yet and is a very static sound as well. Next we're going to pull down the pulse width of the first wave and do the opposite to the second wave. This is going to make it sound more unique and have some more interesting harmonics. Still very static though, so what we'll do is detune these oscillators slightly. If we pull this one down by 10 and push this one up by 10, you'll be able to hear that some movement is applied to the sound. So we'll go over to the filter next and we can sculpt the sound slightly, and you'll see that by default the filter is set to be a 2-pole low pass filter, which is what we want for this sound. And we've pulled the frequency down slightly and we're going to push the resonance up as well. And then we're going to go over to the envelopes, and you'll see that by default this first modulator slot is set to be an envelope that controls the VCA level. So the amplitude envelope is by default controlled up here. But what we want to do is control this frequency cutoff amount with an envelope. So we're going to use this one here, and all we need to do is drag this purple circle into here. And so the sound slightly rolls in. We're going to make sure that this attack amount is slightly longer than the attack amount of the amplitude envelope. And you can hear now that that's definitely starting to have that kind of analog brass effect. So what we can do to add some further interest to this sound is apply some pitch modulation to the oscillators. And we do that by turning on this modulation slot here, which is by default set to be an LFO. And then we drag this blue circle over to the coarse tuning of the oscillators. And that will sound something like this. And that's definitely too harsh of an effect for this sound. So we just need to turn down the amount that this LFO is applied. And we can do that just by clicking on these circles here and dragging this amount slider down. Okay, so maybe we can just pull it down slightly more, which we can do over on the LFO panel here, and then maybe we just push up this rate a bit. Okay, so that's now sounding quite interesting, particularly when chords are played. It's nice and thick, but it sounds very dry. So lastly, what we're going to do is go into our effects panel by clicking this button here, and we'll insert a reverb into this first effect slot and then go into the sub presets. And if we select short and wet, we can see how this one sounds. So instantly that definitely brings the sound out more, and it would definitely fit nicer in a mix down with this on. We can just tune this a bit for the sound as well. Let's increase that slightly. Okay, so that's it now. The sound is definitely sounding like something could be used in a track. And as you can see in Circle 2, it just takes a couple of minutes to create something like this. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and have taken something away from it, and we'll catch up with you in the next one.